Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Julie Gunlock annoys the heck out of me. Can you go on vacation again, please, or have some medical emergency?
Nice.
Julie Gunlock's back with us. It's 8:06 on this Monday morning, and it's great to have you back in studio.
Yeah, nice face.
It was so different without you. So different. All right, coming up in a bit, would you have Liam Neeson wish you a Merry Christmas on a daily basis, especially if it sounds like he's threatening a terrorist? We'll also give you totals on our Fisher House Radiothon. John Kerry over in the Middle East lecturing them about climate change. And the Daily Wire's new movie about transgender athletics. All that stuff coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. And there's a lot of questions out there about the behaviors of the rich and elite in our country and around the world. George Soros and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. And why the heck is Bill Gates buying all this farmland? What is this a Green Acres move or something? Or is there something more nefarious at play? Seamus Bruner is one of the chief investigators at the Government Accountability Institute. That's the Peter Schweitzer shop that really investigates all the stories that the mainstream media refuses to. And his brand new book is called Controligarchs, exposing the billionaire class, their secret deals, and the globalist plot to dominate your life. That sounds terrifying, Seamus. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Larry. Julie, great to be with you.
So let's start with Bill Gates, because it is something, you hear a lot of conspiracy theories out there and a lot of, people who will tell you that he's got this grand plan to control the world's food supply and make us all eat Soylent Green or something. But it is weird that he's making, there's no denying it. He's making ginormous purchases of American farmland.
Yeah, certainly. And that was really the impetus behind this book, is to separate the fact and the fiction. You hear all these kind of crazy things out there. And you know us at the Government Accountability Institute, we follow the money. And so that's what we did for Bill Gates and the rest of these guys. Regarding the food takeover, it is a big problem. What we unearthed here was this Microsoft strategy that Bill Gates seems to have dusted off from the mid-'90s, called Embrace, Extend, Extinguish, where Microsoft would embrace an industry, they'd enter into a space, they'd extend their reach within that industry, and eventually they would extinguish the competition and give themselves a monopoly. Well, that's what Bill Gates appears to be doing with the farmland. First, he buys up all the land, he buys more of it, extends his reach, he starts investing in these new synthetic fertilizer companies, he invests in the genetically modified seeds, and eventually the genetically modified or patented proteins. That would be the fake meats like Beyond Meats and Impossible Foods. Yeah. And we're right now seeing the extinguish phase. And just ask any farmer, if it's getting harder and harder to run their business, that would be through the regulations, the climate change regulations. You've got congresswomen like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who wants to ban cattle. Guess what? That helps Bill Gates's fake meat ambitions.
Right.
And
so this is all under the guise of climate change and Green New. Basically, Bill Gates is implementing the Green New Deal without any bothering with legislation. But you compare this to what he did with Microsoft back in the 90s. There are antitrust laws against that sort of thing. When he tried to dominate the browser industry and squash Netscape, that's when regulators came in and actually forced a breakup. So, last I checked, the USDA is a pretty big entity in this town. You start driving past the building and it goes on for 5 blocks down by the mall. So doesn't the government have some say in this? Isn't there anyone looking out for those small farmers?
Oh, well, that's what's so brilliant about claiming to save the planet. Nobody wants to stop you if you're saving the planet. And Microsoft didn't say they were saving the planet back then. That's what most people forget about Bill Gates. He's totally rebranded. He was once this cutthroat monopolist where people on the left and right sort of reviled him as, just being this greedy guy. And then all of a sudden he sets up his philanthropic foundation. What's really interesting is since he set up the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, every dollar he gives to charity, his own charity, he gets $2 in return. And so that's through plays like in the agriculture industry and other industries. Of course, he's investing in health, biotech, all, the food is just one industry where Bill Gates is using this strategy.
Well, you really weave this together. It's not just Bill Gates that you talk about in this book. I mean, one of the people that you talk about is someone who I don't think a lot of Americans are really familiar with, and that is Klaus Schwab. And again, one thing that you have connected the dots here with all of these people, whether it's Bezos or Soros or even, and again, Klaus Schwab, they're all on this green movement. They love DEI. They want funding, especially COVID funding, to be connected to furthering these goals. Tell us a little bit about Klaus Schwab, and I'm sorry to go off a little bit on Bill Gates, but I think it really is interesting how this Klaus Schwab figure, he wants to reimagine the world. He saw COVID as this opportunity for a reset, and Bill Gates also agrees with this.
Yeah, Julie, you're absolutely right. Klaus Schwab is a very dangerous figure. I mean, he sort of started out as this academic. Mm-hmm. He is from Germany and went to Harvard, where he studied under the late Henry Kissinger. Mm-hmm. And just a few years after getting to know the godfather of globalism, Henry Kissinger, that's when he sets up his World Economic Forum in Davos. And Davos only had $6,000 approximately in seed funding, and it has grown to $300 million plus in annual revenues just to the forum, which Klaus Schwab runs. So it is blown up. It's huge. Everybody's now heard of it, especially since the pandemic. And you're right to key in on the Great Reset because, you hear it all the time that the pandemic is in the past. Why are we talking about COVID? COVID is over. No, COVID was, in the pandemic response especially, was a blueprint for the future. That's according to Klaus Schwab. He says we need to use this pandemic reset as a way to rethink everything from capitalism. He wants to get rid of free market capitalism and put in a new system. And all of the people who go to Davos are on board with this, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, there may be a few exceptions, but they go year after year. They keep giving him the money. Mm-hmm. And, they want to use climate change next as the next crisis to take away your liberties, to take away your freedoms, whether it's by banning gas-powered vehicles like Gavin Newsom in California has announced. I mean, even your stoves are under attack, your gas stoves, and then also the fertilizers. I mean, so it's not just Bill Gates taking over the farms. It's worldwide. The Dutch farmers, the Canadian farmers, they're all up in arms too.
Well, and that's part of why we saw the election go in a radically new direction in the Netherlands over the Dutch farmer issue, amongst other issues. In the book, Control Oligarchs, you also point out how Mark Zuckerberg is reinvesting money in artificial intelligence and virtual reality to get people even more addicted to his apps like Facebook than they already are addicted. I'd love to get into the detail of it. I only got about a minute left here, Seamus, Bruner. What can we do about it? I know that there are some elected officials who are trying to call this out when it comes to George Soros and Gates, et cetera, but they're shouted off the stage and they're mocked as conspiracy theorists. Are they cutting through? Are they actually making a difference? Can they?
Well, it's not over yet. I believe we still have time to fight back. It's time to wake up. It's time to spread the word. It's time to get these facts in the hands of as many people as possible, because one thing we know about the supranational organizations like the World Economic Forum and the UN is when people get wise to their plans and start pushing back, they are forced to recalibrate, reassess, and come back at it another way. Yeah. And when people wake up, they don't go back to sleep.
It's like Bond villain stuff.
It really is.
And as usual, as everything that comes out of the Government Accountability Institute and Peter Schweitzer's shop, which Seamus Bruner is one of the lead investigators there, it's meticulously researched and footnoted. It's a very important book. Grab it now. It's called Control Oligarchs, Exposing the Billionaire Class, Their Secret Deals, and the Globalist Plot to Dominate Your Life. Seamus, thanks for joining us. We'll have you back, and give Peter Schweitzer our best.
Okay, thank you, guys.
It is 8:15 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives, Jamie Witten's in the Hadid carpet cleaning traffic.
WMAL, making sense of party politics, because somebody's got to hold their feet to the fire. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Well, it is Christmas season, and to get you in the mood, especially to focus on what's really Christmas is really all about, the Hallow app, which is a prayer and meditation app, they've announced a brand new Advent program, which features some priests, some nuns, actor Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus in the Chosen, and Liam Neeson, who is
Who murders people?
He's Catholic. He doesn't. The parts he
okay.
play,
Sorry.
It's not quite playing Jesus. No. He is doing some narration. Basically, I just heard day one is today. I listened to it on the way in. It's actually pretty good.
You will pray today for your life.
Liam Neeson voices C.S. Lewis. He reads from Mere Christianity and a couple of other C.S. Lewis books, and it sounds good in his Irish way. Here's an example of it.
To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything in your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. He goes on to say that you can try and keep your heart safe and protected. But
I'm scared.
Well,
I'm sorry.
The problem is, I'm with you, because he's talking about love. He's talking about Christianity. He's talking about God coming into the world as Jesus, the little baby. But it's the same delivery as,
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
See, this is...
If you let my daughter go now...
Who came up with this?
I will not look for you. I will not pursue you.
I will not pray for you.
Merry Christmas. God bless us, everyone. It's like, that's not working for me. It is a little blood-curdling. No. Well, maybe he's trying to soften up his image a little bit. He was the voice of Aslan in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
But you didn't, I don't know, maybe
it's pretty much the same energy, though, and so I don't know if it's working. The other issue here, on a more serious note, listen, the target audience for the Hallow app is Catholics.
Reverent Catholics.
Reverent, or those of us who are trying to be more reverent
they're trying.
Enliven their prayer life and contemplation.
I don't think that people that don't go to church are
Right. Well, so Liam Neeson is a Catholic. He's from Ireland.
Right.
But he just spearheaded the ballot initiative that overturned Ireland's abortion laws. He basically is he's not pro-life, he's pro-choice, he's pro-abortion.
And he's activist.
And he's an activist. He advocated. So it's like having Joe Biden do Christmas prayers for you on the Hallow app. So there's a lot of people who are angry about it, and they're saying, listen, of all of the Catholic actors out there, you had to pick the guy who his main claim to fame as a public figure outside of being an assassin is to kill, promote the legal killing of babies. And so a lot of Catholics are up in arms about that as well.
Yeah, and understandably so. There's plenty of Hollywood. And frankly, there are also Hollywood actors who risk a lot by coming out and being pro-life. I don't necessarily understand why you would reward someone who is diametrically opposed to the Catholic Church on a pretty important issue.
Hallow is saying that they're open to all flavors of Catholics, and we should pray for him because they do. Not only Jonathan Rumi, but also Mark Wahlberg is a very outspoken pro-life Catholic actor, and he is also included in much of Hallow's content that they put out there. So
we're open to all kinds of Catholics, even Catholics who aren't Catholic. Why don't you just hand it over to a Protestant?
I'm Joe Biden, and I want to do the rosary with you, but I forgot how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a terrible Biden impersonation. It's 8:21, and well, we'd like to thank you once again for your incredible generosity on Thursday and Friday of last week during our annual Fisher House Radiothon. We had an unbelievable outpouring of support from all of you. And it goes directly to Fisher House, of course. And I want to give you a new total because toward the end, people just wait till the end. It's really funny. They hear us talking about it and they say, all right, fine, I'll go ahead and give a donation. And the numbers just kept going after Vince came off the air at 6 o'clock on Friday, all through Mark Levin and into the evening. We're still counting. But as of now, the total of your incredible support, $406,600 in just 2 days. during the Fisher House Radiothon. Thank you so much for that.
Just
it's
amazing.
And last year we did $405,800 of your incredible support, your incredible donations. That included, by the way, a foundation came forward with $50,000, and we didn't get that this year.
Yeah.
So that's all you. It's all you
Wow.
guys,
Wow.
and you're incredible. Really amazing.
Well, and we should really thank the Fisher House, those who came forward to tell their stories, both those who've benefited from staying at a Fisher House, and also
were you listening, Friday? Did you hear me cry like a little
I
baby
listened
boy?
a little bit, and also my friends were texting me and saying, "Oh gosh, the stories are really compelling and great interviewing. Really well done."
Thank you. We missed you. Yeah.
I know.
Next time,
Next
you'll be
time.
part of the Fisher House
Yeah.
Radiothon. We can't wait till next year. You don't need to wait till next year, by the way. You can still go to WMAL.com/Fisher House. You can make your donation and do what I did, do a lot of our listeners did, and that was make a monthly contribution. Just sign up for it now, and it'll automatically be taken out, and it's a great way to just continuing to support Fisher House. Coming up, John Kerry wants to shut down coal in America. That's the Democrats' platform. Next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
I don't know, Julie, I'm so excited about getting into the Christmas spirit now. It's like, I know December started last week, but this Monday, this feels like the beginning of the whole December season.
Yeah, I agree.
Crank up my Hallow app and hear Liam Neeson tell me a Christmas story to get me in the mood. Get me in the mood for the Messiah coming incarnate as a little
I'm not sure
baby
that
there
works.
in Bethlehem. Let's hear what's the latest from Hallow here, Liam Neeson.
If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you.
Wait a minute.
Wait, wrong one.
But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And I made the sign of the
I
cross.
think that's from Mark, maybe, or Luke. I'm not sure. I'm not really a biblical
I am
scholar.
not getting into this because I do not want to be struck by lightning.
I'm telling you, it's like he's got that voice, and it's like even though he's reading C.S. Lewis and it's all about Christianity and love and all this,
Yeah.
it's that energy.
No, I know.
It's that.
Yeah.
It's like
I think they should have hired you.
enjoy your Christmas and don't forget the real reason for this season. And if you don't,
And I will kill you.
wow, that is a motivation for prayer right there.
Yeah.
John Kerry is representing the United States of America over at the COP28. That's the climate summit where elites from all around the world fly in private jets, go to a godforsaken place like the United Arab Emirates, and make decisions that screw the rest of us for the next several years.
Yeah, and they talk about how the pores are messing everything up.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
So here's John Kerry this weekend talking about what he envisions for our future.
We're going to be transitioning out of coal. There shouldn't be any more coal-fired power plants permitted anywhere in the world. That's how you can do something for health. And the reality is that we're not doing it. So, the measure here is really sounding the alarm bell. I find myself getting more and more militant because I do not understand how adults who are in position of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis.
Is he talking to Joe Biden there, by the way, when he says that? I mean, Joe Biden, when he ran, he guaranteed Pennsylvania and Virginia and other states who sort of like their coal that he wasn't going to do anything to touch their coal power. He's not going to do anything to stop oil drilling. He's not going to do anything to stop fracking. And, of course, now that he's in power, these are the kind of people that he puts in place. 36% of all global electricity is powered by coal.
Yeah, you know
by the way.
what he won't, well, John Kerry will not talk about is nuclear, an alternative alternative energy that actually works.
Yeah, and is stable
and
and,
is
has
stable.
no carbon emissions.
And produces tons of energy. No, he won't. You know what he wants? Wind and algae and all these things that we can't possibly switch over to yet.
Well, that's what he wants. But the president of the United Arab Emirates COP28 committee, who's sort of representing United Arab Emirates, running this entire seminar and this entire conference on global warming, he's being accused of making deals for oil shipments behind the scenes while all of these elitists are there for climate change.
You didn't think this was real, did you?
They're all coming to United Arab Emirates, which, by the way, I mean, they're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
And there's air conditioning everywhere.
Can you imagine? Yeah. I mean, and they're known to have like they have some sort of ski resort in a mall in the United Arab. Do you think that's not powered by...
Yeah, I just want to know, while they're sitting in that conference in literally the middle of the desert, enjoying their climate-controlled rooms, how do they think the air conditioning is working exactly?
Yeah.
It's so hypocritical. But yeah, apparently the United Arab Emirates is using the COP28 conference to discuss oil and gas agreements with 15 countries during the conference. Hey, while you're here... when we're
John
done with
Kerry, did you mention that?
When we're done with the carbon emissions discussion here today, why don't you join me next door and we'll make a new deal for oil and gas deliveries?
Yeah.
Because that's the reality of the situation. One other thing back to John Kerry and the coal thing. I hope you're listening, West Virginia, as you prepare to replace Joe Manchin in the Senate.
Yep.
This is his party. And Joe Manchin, I'm sorry, did literally
Never
nothing
left.
to stop John Kerry, to stop Joe Biden, to do anything about this. And I hope Pennsylvania is listening as well. This is exactly what they intend to do. This is what they wish to do. And you can hear
and this is part of what we just talked about this is part of this great reset.
Mm-hmm.
This is Build Back Better. This is all connected.
Right. And you can hear the desperation and the churlish sort of, don't you people know how smart the rest of us are, tone in John Kerry's voice here. As he laments the fact that the grown-ups aren't doing anything.
How adults who are in position of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis.
It's not killing people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's outrageous, number one. But number two, just say it, John Kerry. China. If he really was serious about what he's saying right now, all of the new coal-powered plants on this planet, the vast majority of them are being created in China in just the last few years. So if you really care, why don't you call out China? But he won't call out China. Why won't he call out China, Julie?
Well, he's in their back pocket.
Exactly, because everybody's beholden to China
That's
now.
right.
And it's a lot better to lecture us, an actual free country with an actual functioning democracy, as far as we know.
And he has the audacity to say the adults that have positions of responsibility allow this to happen, where people die every day. What is he talking about? What are you talking about? That people die every day. This is Greta language.
Meanwhile, they want us all to drive electric vehicles and force us into electric vehicles. And the only way you can power electric vehicles, especially if you're increasing the number of electric vehicles in this country, is by adding more coal plants, because that's where we're getting so much of our electricity. But never mind about
when
that.
Germany killed the nuclear industry in Germany, what did they do? They opened more coal plants. We know what happens. It's all virtue signaling.
It's 8:43. All right, Julie, Friday night showed us the debut of the brand new Daily Wire Plus film Lady Ballers, which focuses on a bunch of middle-aged dudes who are past their prime, who identify as women, and then excel in every sport they attempt to compete against other women at.
Let's cut to the chase. I know you're not a woman.
Hey, you don't know how he identifies. This is the way the world is now. My 8-year-old daughter told me all about it. So a guy can become a girl with no physical changes at all.
Oh, that's called gender fluid.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice.
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It is very funny, and it broke records for Daily Wire Plus. It's the most streamed, downloaded thing they've ever done, and that's saying something because they do a lot of streaming over there, including Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman?
Yeah.
Absolute success. People who saw it raved about it. It's funny. It's a goofball, funny comedy, right?
Slapstick kind of.
With something that Hollywood would never touch, something Saturday Night Live would never do, even though the subject matter is inherently hilarious and absurd.
Absurd.
And as disquieting as it may seem, there's one wrestling scene that is disturbing because it's a man beating up on a woman.
Right.
And it is disturbing, but the only way to address it, frankly, and point out the absurdity of it, is to be as absurd as this movie is.
What is so horrifying is this is actually real life.
Yeah.
This happens.
There are some pretty great cameos from Andrew Klavan, from Matt Walsh, from Michael Knowles, and from Ben Shapiro himself, actually. And it did very well. 2,500 plus viewers
Smart.
on they had millions of viewers. 2,500 viewers went to Rotten Tomatoes to leave a review. You know, Rotten Tomatoes, you get critics, and then you get the audience. Over 2,500 audience reviews came in for Rotten Tomatoes, and it got a 97% rating. So then you compare it to the critics' rating. They don't have a critics' rating yet because only 2 critics bothered to actually watch it and submit a review. Isn't that amazing? It's so typical.
You know, if Hollywood weren't filled with so many stupid people, they would take note of this, that there is a demand for this, that there is a hunger for this, to make fun of the world, the absurd world that we live in today. You know, it would be funny if some feminists kind of got on board with this and said, you know, from the traditional feminists. I know that right now they're traditional feminists are excusing Hamas rapes. So I know they're busy right now. But, you know, they could get involved in this and praise this for making fun of a situation where women are ultimately the losers here. So good for Daily.
Jeremy Boring, he's the CEO of Daily Wire, and he's working on a couple of film projects, including this one. He actually has a lead role in the movie as well.
Yeah.
I've known Jeremy since back in the Breitbart days in L.A. I know for a fact that as early as 2010, 2011, he has been pitching movie ideas to Hollywood studio executives that appeal to an audience outside of the typical left-wing ideological sphere. He was rejected. Across the board, he was rejected.
It's just a good, huge number of people in the United States. Okay.
Of course. But he was so I know for a fact that he was trying to pitch. And by the way, there's another thing about this. Andrew Klavan was probably the first one, a Daily Wire guy, who actually pointed out the fact everyone says, oh, Hollywood just cares about money. No, they really don't. If they cared about money, they would do this.
Right.
Instead, they care about their ideological agenda. This is why the movies dominating the Oscars you've never heard of, right? And they make no sense. It's why Disney is fine killing their Marvel and Star Wars brands by coming up with DEI superheroes. It's why Pixar hasn't had a hit animated film in years.
Right.
There's another aspect of this with regard to the writers, the directors, and the actors. We've been told by the elitists in Hollywood that conservatives just aren't creative. To be creative and to be an artist means you have to be liberal, you have to be progressive. It's such a blatant, bigoted stereotype. The idea that a conservative person can't be an artist.
Yeah.
But that's what they have said for years, and this proves otherwise.
I love that suddenly going with the flow makes you an artist, not being a contrarian.
Exactly.
Okay. Which these guys are the contrarians right now in entertainment, and good for them.
Am I saying Lady Ballers is a modern-day Michelangelo? Yes, I am. It's 8:53. All right, Julie, that's a wrap. You have a good day.
That was fun.
It's always good to have you back. You know what else is great? Chris Plant, the Chris Plant Show.
Heck.
You're all gearing up and ready to go, I bet.
I'm not back from Ireland, though. It's more fun to be just back from. But I'm not at the COP thing. Did you see John Kerry with some gaseous emissions at the COP summit? His